The pressure you are feeling is not a sign that something is wrong. It is evidence that something is being formed. Pressure is often misunderstood because it is uncomfortable, demanding, and relentless. But in the hands of God, pressure becomes a tool, not a weapon. Nothing of value is released without resistance, and nothing of purpose is shaped without strain. What you are experiencing is not punishment, it is preparation. There are seasons when life feels light and manageable, and then there are seasons when the weight increases, responsibilities multiply, expectations rise, challenges come from every direction at once. You may feel stretched beyond what you think you can handle, as if there is no margin left. But stretching does not mean breaking. Stretching means capacity is being expanded. God never enlarges your territory without first enlarging your ability to carry it. Pressure exposes what comfort hides. It reveals character, discipline, and dependence. When things are easy, faith can become passive. But when pressure comes, faith becomes active. You are forced to pray differently, trust more deeply, and rely less on your own understanding. That dependency is intentional. God is teaching you not to move by feeling, but by faith. Not by convenience, but by conviction. Preparation often looks like chaos because it rearranges everything. God will allow pressure in your relationships, your schedule, your emotions, and even your confidence, not to overwhelm you, but to refine you. Weak habits are broken under pressure. Shallow thinking is exposed. Unnecessary attachments are revealed. What cannot survive pressure is not meant to accompany you into purpose. This is why the season feels intense. You are being trained for weight you have never carried before. Influence carries weight. Leadership carries weight. Impact carries weight. God does not place heavy assignments on unprepared shoulders. So he strengthens you through resistance. Every challenge is adding muscle to your faith. Every delay is building endurance. Every obstacle is sharpening discernment. There are moments when you may want relief more than growth. You may ask God to remove the pressure instead of asking him to show you what it is producing. But if the pressure lifts too early, the process remains incomplete. God is more committed to your calling than your comfort. He knows what you need to become before he releases what you are asking for. What feels heavy now will soon feel familiar. What feels overwhelming now will soon feel manageable. The pressure will not last forever, but the strength it produces will. When this season passes, you will realize you are not the same person who entered it. You will speak with more authority, walk with more confidence, and carry responsibility with wisdom. The pressure was never meant to crush you. It was meant to prepare you. There were moments when it felt like life was unraveling instead of progressing. Doors you prayed would open shut abruptly. Opportunities you planned for collapsed without explanation. Relationships you invested in ended unexpectedly. At the time, it felt like rejection, like failure, like loss. But what you couldn't see then is that God was not pushing you backward. He was positioning you forward. Closure is often protection disguised as disappointment. Not every closed door is an attack. Some are acts of divine mercy. God sees what you cannot see and knows what cannot follow you into your next season. There are people who are comfortable with your current level but threatened by your future. There are environments that celebrate your potential but cannot sustain your purpose. When God closes a door, it is often because what's behind it would limit what's ahead. It hurts when familiar things are taken away. Comfort creates attachment, and attachment resists transition. But elevation requires separation. God cannot take you higher while you are still holding on to what keeps you grounded. So he removes weight quietly, sometimes painfully, but always intentionally. He clears space not to leave you empty, but to prepare you for what he is about to place in your hands. There are connections that feel right emotionally, but are wrong spiritually. There are plans that look good logically, but are misaligned prophetically. God disrupts those paths not to punish you, but to protect the calling on your life. What fell apart was not strong enough to support the magnitude of what is coming. What walked away could not walk with you into the next chapter. You may have questioned yourself, replayed conversations, and wondered what you did wrong. But sometimes you did nothing wrong. You simply outgrew the space. Growth demands change, and change often demands loss. God allows endings so that beginnings can breathe. He removes what no longer fits so you can move freely into what does. When God closes a door, he also shields you from future regret. Had that opportunity worked, it may have delayed your destiny. Had that relationship lasted, it may have drained your focus. Had that plan succeeded, it may have confined you to a version of yourself that was too small for your assignment. God's no is often more powerful than our yes. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What felt like loss was alignment. God was not taken from you. He was preparing you, clearing space so when the right doors open, you won't hesitate, you won't be divided, and you won't be weighed down. The closing was necessary because what is coming requires freedom, clarity, and obedience. The stirring you feel inside is not something to ignore or explain away. It is not stress, coincidence, or restlessness without reason. It is a signal in your spirit that something divine is unfolding. When God is about to move you into a new dimension, he first disturbs your comfort. He disrupts what once felt normal, the quiet dissatisfaction, the sense that your current level is no longer enough, the feeling that there must be more than this. These are not signs of confusion. They are evidence of alignment. Heaven does not stir what it does not intend to shift. There are seasons when life feels predictable, manageable, and safe. And then there are seasons when God shakes the internal world before he changes the external one. You begin to feel pressure without knowing why. Old routines stop working. Familiar victories no longer satisfy. You find yourself praying differently, thinking differently, questioning things you once accepted without thought. This is not rebellion, it is awakening. God is waking something up inside you that has been dormant, preparing you to recognize the sound of his call when it becomes undeniable. This stirring often comes with discomfort because transformation never begins with ease. When God is about to enlarge you, he stretches you. When he is about to elevate you, he unsettles you. That inner tension is the evidence that you are being pulled forward, not pushed backward. The Spirit is creating movement where stagnation once lived. What feels like unrest is actually readiness forming in your soul. Many people mistake this season as a crisis because it comes with emotional weight. You may feel overwhelmed, sensitive, or unusually aware of spiritual matters. You may feel burdened for things you once ignored or grieved by things that never bothered you before. This heightened awareness is not weakness, it is sensitivity being sharpened. God is tuning your spirit to hear Him more clearly. He is training you to discern, to recognize timing, to sense direction before instruction arrives. The reason this stirring is so intense is because what is coming is significant. Small assignments do not require deep preparation. Minor shifts do not demand spiritual alertness. But when God is about to reposition you, He prepares you from the inside out. He deals with your mindset before He deals with your circumstances. He speaks to your spirit before He speaks through your situation. If you ignore this stirring, you risk missing the moment. But if you lean into it through prayer, reflection, and obedience, you will begin to see clarity replace confusion. The unrest will turn into expectation. The pressure will turn into purpose. You will realize that God was not disturbing your peace to harm you, but to move you. This is not a season to silence the stirring. It is a season to listen closely. Heaven is already speaking. When you look back over your life, there are moments you should not have survived. Seasons that carried enough weight to break your mind, your faith, or your future. You walked through loss that hollowed you out, rejection that questioned your worth, betrayal that fractured your trust, and delays that made you wonder if God had forgotten your name. Yet somehow you are still here, still standing, still breathing, still believing, even when belief felt fragile. That survival is not accidental. It is evidence. There are people who experience far less than you and never recovered. They quit, they collapsed, they surrendered to bitterness or despair, but you endured, not because you were stronger than everyone else, but because there was something placed on your life that could not be destroyed. Protection surrounded you in moments when you didn't even know how to pray. Mercy intervened when logic said the story should have ended. What you survived was not meant to kill you because it was never meant to define you. Every battle you lived through was filtering you, shaping you, and proving something about what rests on your life. God does not waste suffering. He allows pressure to reveal capacity. The reason the storm didn't take you out is because it wasn't sent to eliminate you. It was sent to expose your resilience. What tried to drown you only taught you how to breathe under pressure. What tried to crush you revealed the strength you didn't know you carried. There were moments when the pain felt unnecessary. Moments when you asked why you had to go through that while others seemed to move forward untouched. But selection often comes with isolation. God allows certain people to walk roads others never see because their calling requires depth, not convenience. The weight you carried was training you to handle responsibility. The tears you shed were watering compassion. The loneliness you felt was teaching you how to stand without applause. Survival is not just about staying alive. It is about being preserved with purpose. You weren't kept so you could merely exist. You were preserved because something ahead requires the wisdom you gained, the empathy you developed, and the endurance you built. The scars you carry are not signs of damage, they are proof of assignment. They remind you that if you made it through that, you are equipped to handle what comes next. What tried to break you failed because your story is not finished. The fact that you are still standing means heaven intervened on your behalf. God guarded your life because there is still work for you to do. Your past survival is not something to minimize. It is as confirmation that you were chosen for more. You didn't escape by chance. You were kept on purpose. The calling placed on your life was never meant to fit neatly within your comfort or capabilities. From the beginning, it was designed to stretch you beyond what you could handle on your own. That feeling of inadequacy, the quiet question of, how could I possibly do this, is not a sign that you are unqualified. It is proof that the assignment is God-sized. If you could accomplish it by yourself, it would not require faith, and it would not reveal His power. God intentionally calls people into spaces where their strength ends and His begins. He does this so that pride has no place in the process and dependency becomes the foundation. You were never meant to carry this weight alone. What He is inviting you into will demand prayer, obedience, and trust at a deeper level than ever before. That dependence is not weakness, it is alignment. It keeps your heart humble and your spirit open. You may look at the responsibility ahead and feel overwhelmed by the expectations, the visibility, or the impact, but God does not reveal the full scope of the assignment all at once because growth happens step by step. He gives you enough light for the next move, not the entire journey. Each step builds confidence. Each act of obedience unlocks more clarity. As you move, He moves with you. There will be moments when you feel exposed, uncertain, or afraid of failing, but failure is not the greatest threat. Disobedience is. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for surrender. When you say yes despite fear, His strength fills the gaps. When you walk forward despite uncertainty, His presence goes before you. You are supported by grace, not pressure. The reason this calling feels heavy is because it carries eternal significance. Influence is not light. Leadership is not casual. Purpose is not shallow. But God never assigns responsibility without also assigning provision. He will send the right people at the right time. He will give wisdom when decisions feel unclear. He will provide strength when energy runs low. You are surrounded by help you cannot always see. You are not stepping into this alone, even when it feels lonely. Heaven backs obedience. Angels are assigned to purpose. Divine protection surrounds those who walk in alignment. The same God who called you will sustain you. The same voice that invited you forward will guide you through every challenge. What lies ahead is bigger than you, but it is not bigger than God. And because He is with you, you are more prepared than you realize. The increase in opposition you've been facing is not random, and it is not because you are doing something wrong. In the spiritual realm, resistance often intensifies when purpose is about to manifest. The enemy does not waste energy on what carries no threat. If the attacks have multiplied, it is because your life carries influence and your future carries impact. Opposition is often the announcement that destiny is close. You may have noticed fear showing up in places where confidence once lived. Distractions increasing when focus is required. Fatigue settling in just as momentum begins to build. These are not coincidences. They are strategies meant to slow you down, wear you out, and make you question what God has already confirmed. The enemy's goal is not always to destroy you outright, but to delay you long enough to make you doubt your calling. When the pressure rises and the attacks intensify, it is easy to internalize the struggle and assume something is wrong with you. But often, the battle has little to do with your flaws and everything to do with your future. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being attacked because you are dangerous to darkness. Your obedience threatens systems that rely on your silence. Your growth disrupts cycles that benefited from your stagnation. The enemy studies timing. He knows when God is about to elevate someone, and he moves aggressively to create confusion before clarity can settle. This is why the attack often comes right before breakthrough, right before peace, right before clarity. The goal is to exhaust you emotionally so you abandon the very ground you are about to inherit. But attacks also expose authority. Every battle you survive increases your spiritual strength. Every attempt to stop you that fails builds confidence in God's protection. What was meant to intimidate you ends up training you. You learn how to pray under a pressure, how to stand when emotions fluctuate, how to trust God when evidence is unclear. The attacks don't weaken you. They reveal what is already inside you. It is important to understand that you cannot fight spiritual battles with natural weapons. Discouragement cannot be overcome with logic alone. Fear cannot be silenced by motivation. This season requires spiritual discipline, awareness, and persistence. You must guard your thoughts, protect your focus, and remain anchored in truth. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every feeling deserves agreement. The very fact that the enemy is resisting you confirms that you are marked. Chosen lives attract warfare because they carry purpose, but they also carry protection. You are not exposed. You are covered. The attacks are real, but they are limited. They cannot stop what God has already ordained. They can only reveal that you are closer than you think